Well, you could guess how excited I was when I got the invitation from Pastor Bernard to be your speaker this morning and just to share my testimony. Pastor Bernard told me that you all were in a series, this Who is Jesus series. And he just thought that my experience with Jesus being the Messiah might be helpful to a few of you this morning. I know that Pastor Kyle said, and I know that you're expecting Pastor Bernard, but Pastor Bernard asked me to stand in for him and give my testimony this morning on who Jesus is. So if you will, follow me to Luke, the 23rd chapter, verses 39 through 43. And it says, one of the criminals who hung there hurled insults at him. Aren't you the Messiah? Save yourself and us. But the other criminal rebuked him. Don't you fear God, he said, since you are under the same sentence. We are punished justly for what we are getting, what our deeds deserve. But this man has done nothing wrong. Then he said, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And Jesus answered him, truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise. And from that passage of scripture, I just want to share my testimony this morning. I just want to share what Jesus is to me. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. You could say that I am a nobody. Yes, I come from a long line of nobodies. Nobody's running my family. I'm not named like Bartimaeus or Zacchaeus or even Nicodemus. I'm giving no facial description. There are no outstanding qualities to describe me or that I could even brag about. There isn't even a place to say where I come from. I am a nobody. No face, no name, no place to come from. I'm just a nobody. You see, my whole existence in biblical history can be summed up in one adjective. And that word is criminal. You see, I grew up in a God-fearing Jewish home. My parents were God-fearing people. And as a boy, I was taught to reverence God. I had this healthy fear of God growing up. I grew up with a healthy fear of him. I was taught all the customs and traditions of my people, but as time went by, they began to get old to me. They began to wear on me. They began to play out. So it was at that time that I figured I needed to go my own way. I figured I needed to establish my own agenda. I just noticed that I danced to the beat of a different drummer. Those old ways, they were fine for my parents, but they didn't suit me at all. So by the time I was 16, I began to realize what I wanted to do. By the time I was 16, I had made up in my mind what I wanted to be. By the time I was 16, I had figured out that I wanted to be a criminal. Not only did I want to be a criminal, but I wanted to be the best criminal there was. I mean, you tell me, if your whole existence in biblical history is summed up in being a criminal, you want to be the best criminal you could be. So I worked at it. I worked at it from a boy on into my adulthood, I worked at it. I was good, but I even got better because I practiced. I was good, but I even got better because I took pride in it. I was good, but I even got better because this is what I wanted to be for the rest of my life, a criminal. You know, people used to say that I had very sticky fingers as a boy. That's probably what led me that way. And some used to say that I was so good, I could steal the sweetness out of sugar. What you say? Some would even say, boy, you're so slick, you don't need no grease. Yeah, I was that good. But I even got better. You see, I was about that life. I was there and I was thugging it out. And I never left home without a blade. You know, a sharp blade is a thug's best friend. And we used to roll through Nazareth, set tripping on them fools all the time. And so I heard of Jesus. I heard of Jesus because I stayed banging on his hood. And if anybody needs a translation, I'll be available after service. But I stayed banging on his hood. And I was while I was out there and I was doing my thing and I was thugging it out and I was living it up. I was banging on other hoods, especially Nazareth. While I was out there doing my thing, one day my luck ran out. One day it all had to come to a crashing end, a crashing halt, but I was caught on a burglary. And not only was I caught on the burglary, but they added 4 enhancement charges to me. And needless to say, there's a difference when crimes are committed by Jews. There's a difference in crimes that are committed by Jews and crimes that are committed by Romans. If I was Roman, they probably would have gave me 3 to 5 years in prison. But since I'm a Jew, they sentenced me to death by crucifixion. That's one of the worst forms of capital punishment. It was made especially for the hardened, the worst criminals and nobodies. And I was both of these. Who's to say I probably deserve it? I don't think I deserve death, but I did deserve some time. So on the day when I was crucified, on the day that they set aside for me to be crucified, the day I was sentenced to be crucified, there were 2 others that were crucified with me. And to my left was a man named Jesus. And I wonder, was it the same guy that I heard about from Nazareth? And to his left, to Jesus' left, there was another nameless criminal. Another nobody. Now, I knew the criminal. We did some work together back in the day. But Jesus, I only had heard about. I knew the criminal. But Jesus, I only had heard about. I heard good things about him. Everything I heard about him was to the good. One thing I heard about him in particular, I heard that he had a compassionate heart for nobodies like me. I heard stories how he healed a blind man. I had heard stories about one day he healed a man at the pool called Bethesda. I had heard stories about him healing a woman with the blood issue. I had heard stories about him healing a possessed man. I had heard stories about him feeding 5,000 people. If this was that Jesus, I heard he cared about nobodies. I heard he cared about the least of these. I heard that he had grace for the hood. And it was at this time the same man who worked the miracles, who had served the hood. If this was the same man, then I figure his claim to be the Son of God had to be true. But he was being crucified along with us. He was being crucified with me and the other criminal. And I wonder how the police could have made this mistake. Because if this was that Jesus, he was being charged with crimes he didn't commit. You know, I saw them put this crown that they had made out of thorns on his head. And I watched as people spit on him. They placed the sign over his head that said, "This is the King of the Jews." And I noticed that he had been beaten. And I heard people laugh at him. I heard people teasing him. I heard people cursing and mocking him. And it was at this time that one of the most incredible things I had ever witnessed in my life happened. This Jesus, he said a prayer for those cursing, for those mocking, and for those teasing him. It is one of the most incredible things I had ever witnessed before in my life. I heard him say, "Father, forgive them, because they don't know what they're doing." It was at that moment that I realized this was the Jesus that I had heard about. He was actually praying for them. They don't know what they're doing, because if they knew what they're doing, they wouldn't have done it. Father, forgive them. It was incredible. And they were yelling at him, "Come down and save yourself." I didn't know it then, but what was happening was this. They challenged him to save himself from the cross, but instead he saved others by the cross. And it was at this very moment, would you know that other criminal yelled at him, "Aren't you the Messiah? Save yourself and us." His words, they stung me to my heart. His words, they stung my heart. "Aren't you the Messiah? Save yourself and us." And his words, they hurt me, because I knew this was the Messiah. I knew this was the Jesus who saves. I knew that this was Emmanuel, God with us. Realizing this, I yelled at that fella. I yelled at that other criminal. I said to him, "Don't you fear God? We're getting what we deserve, but this man has done nothing wrong. In other words, don't involve me in your junk. That's on you, brother. That's on you." And I looked at Jesus, and I realized that I was actually looking in the face at the Son of God. I realized that I was actually looking in the face of the one who saves. I realized that I was actually looking in the face of Emmanuel. I realized I was looking in the face of the Messiah. And I said to him, "Lord, remember me when you come into your kingdom." You know, I was taught to pray as a boy. But the prayers I learned were much longer than this. But I realized it doesn't take much. All you have to say is, "Lord, remember me. He told me, today you will be with me in paradise. These words rang in my soul, as you can imagine. And it all began to come back to me. Today, choose who you will serve today. And it all began to make sense because I was face to face with the Messiah. I was face to face with Jesus. I was face to face with Noah's rainbow. I was face to face with Abraham's ram in the bush. I was face to face with Isaac's well. I was face to face with Jacob's ladder. I was face to face with Joseph's bread and hunger. I was face to face with Moses' rod. I was face to face with David's good shepherd. I was face to face with Solomon's lily of the valley. I was face to face with Ezekiel's wheel in a wheel. I was face to face with Isaiah's wonderful counselor, the everlasting God, the mighty God, the everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. I was face to face with the Messiah. Yes, I was face to face with Jesus, the Messiah, with Jesus, the one who saves, with Jesus, Emmanuel, God with us. I knew it was all right then. I knew everything would be all right. His words were comforting to me. Today, you will be with me in paradise. Well, that's my testimony to the church this morning, that I was face to face with the Messiah. And I want to thank Pastor Bernard for allowing me to come by and share with you this morning. I also want to thank Pastor Kyle for being a wonderful host to me this morning. Remember, I'm just a nobody trying to tell everybody about somebody that can save anybody.